at the Telebus office. If you require service in the morning, please wait for the tone and give your name and address and the time that you would like to be picked up. Thank you for calling Telebus.
Carl Gunther feels that the revolution is coming in urban transportation, that the public will demand the new services such as Dial-A-Bus and Telebus in Canada, that we should get involved in the urban revolution and become a part of it. Otherwise, we're either going to be looking for a job or we're going to be rolled right over by the wave of public demand for better transit services. We were getting involved in the revolution here in Regina, partly to perhaps save our own necks, but also to play a part in the changes that are coming. The Telebus system is based on the design of a product to meet an unsatisfied need. This need that is presently being unsatisfied by conventional transit systems is for a service that is midway between taxi and transit.
4619 Argyle, Artie.
4619.
You simply call the Telebus number, the dispatcher radios your request to the Telebus driver, and he adjusts his route to go by your doorstep. And the fare for this service is 35 cents for adults.
Anything for 51?
Morning.
47. You're clear 51 for now.
Conventional transit systems have never been able to efficiently serve low-density areas. The fixed-route buses are simply too unpopular, resulting in a very large subsidy or deficit.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. Councillor. Thank you.
Morning.
Hi.
The initial area selected was selected because it had the highest subsidy of any portion of the transit service in the city and the highest deficit per passenger carried. We thought that if we tried the Telebus system in this area, and if it was successful in reducing the subsidy required for transit service, then it should work well in other areas.
49 when you're ready.
Good morning.
Well, there has been a definite reduction in car trips, and we know that we now have a system which can get the more affluent people out of their cars and onto the transit system. It's a real advantage to have this secure, reliable system which comes to your doorstep and delivers you either to your destination or transfers you to a fixed route service. When the Telebus system began in September 1971, we predicted that we would probably get about 500 passengers per day from the initial service area, which was approximately 2.5 square miles and contained about 18,000 people. Much to our surprise, the demand was about 2.5 times our estimates, and we found that last winter in 1971-72, we were carrying an average of about 1,200 to 1,400 passengers per day.
16, fair.
45, 45.
Great.
45, 45.
4506 Montague.
4506.
Good afternoon, Telebus.
51, no show.
21 Martin.
45.
Yes, he's just going to the terminal now. So give me about 15 minutes. Okay, fine. Thank you. Bye. Good afternoon, Telebus.
Yeah, well, around about 5 o'clock. Yep. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Well, operating a transit system is
Okay, fine.
a rather interesting experience. I think when I was a boy, I liked to play with electric trains, and it was great fun running electric trains back and forth and trying out different layouts and so on. And I never dreamed that I'd have a full-size system to play with.
17.
17.
You call at the Parliament Centre on your way in, please.
Yes, 15. 14 Marsh
14 Marsh for the 1430.
and 2920 Grant.
Here we go.
From Regina, the Harrison Line, Part 2.
620 CKCK.
With CKCK's Public Affairs Director, Lorne Harrison.
And this afternoon, we're going to pick up where we left off this morning. We'll try to get specific questions or problems straightened out for you with respect to the transit system. But in addition to that, this afternoon, we'd just be interested in a kind of random sampling of opinion on the question of Telebus. Do you like it, or do you have doubts? 1900, go ahead, please.
You know,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Atkinson,
Yes?
thank you for a most peaceful weekend. It's
I-
been lovely out here with no buses. I live in the corner of Parker and Hillsdale.
Right, I recognize the caller.
That was a bit of a jab.
Well, it's true. I mean, 5 to 6 buses sitting out in front of your place doesn't add much to your property, believe me.
Well, we've made a temporary arrangement to transfer passengers at one location, which is still in a residential area. But the future plans are to move the transfer terminal into a right-of-way of a main arterial street serving a fairly high-density development. We know it's not a good situation, and we're going to move out of that area just as fast as we can.
We'll move along, ma'am.
Thank you.
Right. 2949.
I'd like to say that I'm very, very pleased with the Telebus service in Whitmore Park. And it's really a godsend because I have a little girl going to kindergarten this year, and it really is just marvelous, and I'm very, very pleased. I'd just like to say that.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Atkinson is happy to hear you say it.
Very good.
We like to look after the little ones. We've got 2 or 3 in age 4 and 5, so on, using the system by themselves, and we're happy that it's safe for them to do so.
Come on, down another step, eh? Come on. There's your driver, okay? Oh, you go this way. Right down here.
You'll make it up there after a while. Okay?
Yeah.
The city has always subsidized transit service in Regina and feels that the subsidy of 35 cents per passenger on Telebus, good value for the social benefits obtained of greater mobility for senior citizens, as well as making the whole area more accessible. Extended Care Nursing Center is quite remotely located in this part of Regina. Mrs. Jarvis, I'm sure as administrator of the center, you must have been concerned about transportation for your staff and also for the visitors to this area.
People who are concerned about the transportation because we're a few blocks off the regular route of the existing transportation systems.
Do you think it's easier to recruit staff now for the center with the new service?
Oh, I have no doubt about
Have there been any particular problems associated with having the buses come in here? I know you get some characters come visiting sometimes.
Well, I think the other, maybe one disadvantage that may be that because of the type of residents that we have and some of the older people who do become forgetful, that they may get out of our front door and step right on Telebus.
Mm-hmm. We've had some children escape from home without their parents' knowledge when they weren't supposed to leave the house. So.
Well, there's a gentleman there. I thought for a while that the only users of Telebus were females.
Well, they're about 3 to 1, but we have quite a few men on the system, too.
8818, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Atkinson.
Yes.
I'd just like to know what the financial position of the transit system is right at the moment, the whole financial situation, and then a separate breakdown on the Telebus.
Yes, well, it costs about $2.25 million to operate the transit system. About $1.5 million comes from fare box revenues and advertising revenues and a few miscellaneous bits and pieces that we get from the Canada Post Office and the Police Commission and so on. And the other $750,000 is a direct subsidy by the taxpayers out of general funds of the city.
Is the Telebus paying for itself?
Now, the Telebus system is also heavily subsidized. Before Telebus, the area was being subsidized by approximately $180,000. That was the proportion of the deficit for the south area of the city.
I see.
And that has been reduced down to about $134,000 now.
Yes, I live in the south area, and we've been very pleased with the Telebus out here. It's excellent service.
Almost $50,000 saving there.
Yes, right. That's very good.
Right. We have to take a break here, Wally, so that we can declare a little bit of profit, so that we can pay our property taxes, so that we can subsidize the transit system. Back in a minute.
The Telebus system is definitely more costly to operate than a conventional fixed route service. First of all, you have the extra labor required for the dispatch center, and secondly, the additional manpower required to operate the small vehicles makes it a labor-intensive system. But the answer to that question is simply that when you look on the revenue side, the revenues generated by this type of service are, first of all, not only higher than a conventional system on a per passenger basis, but also the total revenue generated is much greater.
How long is it going to be for you?
I'll be there in about 2 shakes of a dog's hind leg.
I'm Wally Atkinson from the transit system. Just like to
Marion
ask you.
Thomas. This is my mother from Edmonton, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
So we'd like to get your reaction on the doorstep Telebus service.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I really do. It's fast service. Just phone and they're right there. In fact, sometime they're too quick.
When you're ready. Do you find it fairly slow to go from
No,
one to the
it's
other?
really fast.
It works out all right for you.
Yeah, it's really convenient.
We've had some people say that it takes too long to get from one Telebus to another Telebus.
No, I don't think so.
It seems to work all right for now.
Really good.
How about the extra fare? Would you rather it was a little cheaper?
I'd rather spend an extra dime than walk.
How do you like the drive though?
Fantastic.
Must get pretty cozy in here in the winter with a car full of warm bodies, eh?
Well, I look at it this way. When we get a load on us, tell them it's a cuddly bus then. 15.
132 Logan.
Our experience has been that about 50% of the business is in the morning and afternoon peak, and about 50% of the business is done throughout the day. So we're finding that this type of service gives us a much better utilization of the transit system during off-peak hours. We're very proud of the Regina Telebus project because it represents one of the first instances where the 3 levels of government, the municipality, the province, and the federal government, have cooperated together on a transit research project. Visiting the Telebus project today, we have Mr. John Gratwick, who was chairman of the Transportation Development Agency of the Federal Ministry of Transport, who were one of the 3 sponsors of the original project. John, it's a pleasure to have you come out and see the system in operation.
Well, and I'm not sure that we have still any constitutional right to do what we did, but I think we were, in every sense, sort of morally and practically, we were right in looking for a way in which we could get together to do something sensible and get something done in this field. The message we have now, too, from the point of view of putting together information and spreading information about this, that this is going reasonably well, and my hope is that a number of other cities will be getting in on your backs and cashing in on the experience you've already developed.
We've had a lot of inquiries from right across the country and a lot of visitors.
The only kind of thing is now, instead of just running a bus system out here, you'll have to take to the road and sell this one to everybody else.
Riding in the bus, Miss Mary Jane, Miss Mary Jane, Miss Mary Jane. Riding in the bus, Miss Mary Jane, on the way to school. Who'll ride with me? Who'll ride with me? Who'll ride with me, my darling? Who'll ride with me? Get out of the way when the horn beep beeps, the horn beep beeps, the horn beep beeps. Get out of the way when the horn beep beeps, on the way to school. Bouncing up and down on the telebus, the telebus, the telebus. Bouncing up and down on the telebus, on the way to school.
That's like I can see why the kids have so much fun back here, you know. But we put rebound springs on the bus so that it wouldn't bounce quite so high. It was actually bouncing a good foot in the air. It just about went on the floor. Oh, what fun to ride the telebus.
2834 Lakeview.
2834 Lakeview.
You've got it now, have you?
That's all the time we have for the show this afternoon. I haven't been keeping a tally here, but it would seem to indicate to me, Wally, that you've got more compliments than complaints about Telebus. The personal kind of service that it appears to be, some will refer to it as being fast and efficient. Others, of course, are concerned about the residential transfer points and the business of waiting time. For some, it's a long time. And there's some concern about the loss of regular routes. But in general, it would appear that you've got more supporters than you have knockers.
The Regina Telebus system is now completely phased into the normal transit operations. The experimental portion of the system is completed, and the reports are being published, and is just part of the normal transit service now.
And everything seems to be working in Regina, or in this section of it. Now what happens next? Where do you go from here?
Well, we have a number of small buses on order. Once they come in, we will put them in this area, and we will trade off some of the larger buses which you see operating out there today. And then we'll move some of the larger buses up to the northwest part of the city, and we'll begin off-peak shopping services to residents in an area of about 3 square miles in the northwest part. And we'll begin to overrun some of the fixed routes in that area, and as people get used to the service, we'll begin reducing the fixed route services and increasing the telebus services until we have the area pretty well switched over.
Thank you, Chairman Wally. Now do your song now?
I'll do my little dance. Everything's running beautifully today. We're right on time. You're still rolling, are you?